Hello, everyone. Welcome to Aligning with Purpose, a podcast where we explore themes of finding your true purpose, from quitting corporate, moving cities, practicing holistic health, and more. Join me as we discover our purposes together. My name is Juli, and I'm so happy you're here. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. I am so excited to be in front of the mic today. It's been a minute since I recorded. I pre-recorded my last 2 episodes because I was going home to LA and we had a couple guest podcast episodes. So I am stepping in front of the camera for the first time in about a month, and I'm super excited to be here. Today's podcast episode is going to be an unscripted one, all about impermanence, my trip to LA and my reflections about it. I also went to a New Year's Eve event, and it was a meditation sober event, which was really, really out of the norm of what I would normally do, but something that I needed this year. So I want to talk about that. And I'm also in the process of moving apartments, and it's been a crazy hectic last few weeks and the start of 2026. So we're going to cover all of that, and all of this together has really made me think about the theme of impermanence and how life is fleeting, moments are fleeting, our relationships with people are fleeting, and there's sadness with that concept, but there's a lot of beauty with that too. Let's talk about that because the relationship we have with impermanence can be a little tricky, right? So yeah, we're going to cover all of that today. But before we get started, I do want to talk about our Beauty and Humanity segment, as always, and share a little bit about my relationship with my parents. I was just in Los Angeles to celebrate the holidays with my family, and I was really reflecting a lot about my relationship with my parents, with my sister. I don't know if it's because I'm getting older or that I'm miles away from my family now, but I am starting to really appreciate my parents more and more. And also my sister. I appreciate, everyone in my family. But as a kid, I fought so much with my mom. I don't know if you can relate to this, but I had a very difficult relationship with my mom. We were constantly fighting every single day, and a lot of it was my fault, if I'm not gonna lie. But we were always fighting, and I never felt this closeness until I started to understand her more as I started to get older and be able to put myself in her shoes. She did so much for me this trip, and she's always done so much for me and my sister and my dad. But it really made me feel so much gratitude for her. I think a mother's love is so, so pure and beautiful, and it is unmatched to any other love out there. Actually, I don't want to take away from all other forms of love, but a mother's love is just one of the most purest forms of love that they can give their child. With my dad, he's always been a very steady figure in our lives. He didn't really show a lot of emotion, and I think it's pretty typical in a lot of Asian households, but it was really hard to crack him open, and in a lot of ways we still don't have, emotional conversations. But I was really starting to understand that everyone is truly just so different. You can't force any type of relationship that you want with them. Of course, as a kid, I always felt like, oh my gosh, these are my needs, and why can't I connect with you in this way, or whatever the need was. But as I'm getting older, I'm understanding that they did the best that they can, and they're still doing the best. And they provided us with such a safe, happy household with a lot of laughter in, growing up. And we always did dinner together. And those are memories that I'll never, ever forget. Despite having certain needs as a kid or as their daughter, I was really starting to understand that it's okay to be able to love them for who they are. And if you need some sort of love, which I'm referring to myself, if I needed something, I can always hold my inner child and show up for her in the way that I need, right? All that to say, I think it was just really healing to be able to have this reflection about my parents, and that we're all having this human experience and we're all learning and growing together. And nobody is perfect, and there's just so much beauty in being able to do that with the family that you've been given. If you have family that you're close to, or if you have anyone that you're close to in your life that you can cherish, and if that's not, your family members, hold them close, because again, going back to that concept of impermanence, nothing lasts forever, and hold them close and be present with them as much as you can. Call home as much as you can if you aren't close to home, and or your loved ones, whoever that is. This episode is really for them, an appreciation episode for everything that they've done, and that there's so much beauty in us being able to experience humanity together. We're going to start this podcast episode with talking about this New Year's Eve event that I went to. This year, I decided to do something completely different. Usually, I would go out to a bar or go out clubbing or do something drinking related with my friends. And I think it was because I had a very unhealthy relationship with New Year's Eve. I always felt like I had to be doing something, and if I stayed home or did something on my own, I was a loser. I felt like I had to ring it in by doing something grand. And by no means is drinking alcohol grand, but I thought that I had to be doing something, and that was a rule that I created in my head, right? As I am getting older, I guess, or maybe I'm just healing my relationship with myself, I'm understanding that you can do whatever you want. And this year, I decided to go to a meditation sober event. It was held by my favorite yoga studio in the East Village called 3 Jewels. I actually found it on a podcast when I was living in Los Angeles. If you listen to Erica Gabriel's podcast called You Are Not Alone, she talked about, or she had a guest that founded 3 Jewels. And ever since that, I was so intrigued, and I really, really wanted to go to 3 Jewels Yoga Meditation Center. And when I moved here, that was definitely a stop that I wanted to make, and it became my favorite yoga studio. So without talking too much about, the origin of that, I went to this meditation event, and I didn't know what to expect. I didn't even know how they were going to cram 50 to 75 people in one room, but they did it. And it was a very small, intimate event. And I felt so good energetically to be able to start my 2026 like that. So our instructor, Rachel, she talked about the concept that nothing has a nature. This is a concept that I never really knew about because I don't study Tibetan Buddhism or any sort of formal religion, but she talked about the concept that nothing has a nature. To give an example that she gave, she talked about us attaching our joy or our anger or anything that it is to specific things in our lives or items in our lives. So for example, if you like coffee and you drink your cup of coffee in the morning, that could provide you with a sense of happiness, right? That is what you're attaching to this cup of coffee. But if you keep drinking it over and over, every single day becomes your routine, there might be a day where it's just part of your routine and it just doesn't provide you that happiness that you once attached that meaning to. She talked about this because nothing truly has a nature. We are the ones assigning this to objects or to things or to moments or to people. And in reality, nothing has a nature, good or bad. Everything is pretty neutral. I thought this concept was really profound because as we were going into this next year, we were trying to cleanse everything from 2025 and to let it go. We can call in whatever we want, but we have to be able to let go of the certain expectations that we hold on things or rely on different aspects if we're going to have a good or bad day. And it all comes down to our mindset. So being able to have her talk us through that and then meditate on what we want to envision for our year ahead. It was just such a beautiful, beautiful moment that we were all sharing together. We also had moments that we were able to chat together, and it ended up being such a nice moment to talk to strangers and to know why they came to this event. And the energy was incredible. It felt so good to call in my year in this way. It's such a contrast from the other years that I've had where I needed to be having a drink or, be surrounded by a lot of people to know that I was, not cool enough, but it was all very psychological. It was all in my head. But I think it was that mindset shift in my own self that I was creating these unnecessary rules for myself that I needed to break away from. So that was my New Year's Eve. And if you ever feel called to go to Three Jewels, I highly recommend it. And you're in the New York City area. It is such a great yoga studio. They are so intentional with their practice, and it's about your mind, body, soul connection through every single movement. It's not just a workout class that a lot of mainstream, Western yoga studios have. So this one feels really comforting. So yeah, that was a little bit about New Year's Eve. So before New Year's Eve, I was back in LA for about a week, and it was really nice to go back home. I went back home, I want to say 3 times this year. And in the 3 times that I went this year, each trip has felt really different. The first trip felt so disorienting, where I have never left California, and at least in my adulthood, I had never left California on my own, and going back felt so strange. It felt like I was time traveling, and it felt like things around me didn't change, but I had changed. I almost didn't know how to relate to the people around me, even though we're all growing, and it's not that they hadn't changed, right? Like, I know that everyone is growing and changing, but it just felt disorienting physically to be in a place that I grew up in, but not actually live there and have another life. And then the second trip felt a little bit better. I was able to come back and feel more at home, more at ease. And then this last trip that I went for the holidays, this one really was emotional. When I was on the plane ride back home, I really felt a lot of emotions, and it's comparable to the plane rides I would have coming back home from Japan every single summer that I would go visit. I would be consumed with so much sadness that I was leaving family, my extended family in Japan, and going back to the States. And this time around, I was feeling my heart sinking in the plane when I was leaving family, and I didn't really know that it was going to hit me this hard. As I was able to reflect on it more and more in the plane ride back home, I was just understanding that my heart is just in 2 places, and there are truly 2 places that I call home now. It's fascinating because I will admit I have not been homesick when I'm in New York, because New York truly feels like home to me. And I know in a past life, I probably lived in New York because it just feels so familiar, even though I'm experiencing things for the new time. But in a lot of ways, because I am sharing the definition of home in 2 different locations, my heart feels like it's, attached to both places. So when I get ripped from one, there are a lot of emotions. I did feel a lot of that this time. Before I also went to LA, I made a quick stop in Hawaii to visit my boyfriend. And before I visited Hawaii, I did I did 2 round trips. So I went back to LA first, and then from LA, I made a round trip from LA to Hawaii. And then so I finished the remainder of my LA trip on the latter half, and then I went back to New York City. So when I landed in Los Angeles before I was going to Hawaii, there was a 12-hour, it wasn't even a layover because it was 2 separate round trips, but there was a 12-hour period where I went back home and I slept, repacked a little bit, and then flew out again. The holiday traffic to get to LAX was insane. My mom sat in LAX traffic for 2 hours to get to me. I waited for an hour, and that is completely okay because, she sat for 2 hours. I had no idea that it was going to take that long. And she does all of that with a smile on her face, and she was just happy to see me. And then she woke up extremely early the next morning because my flight was at 9 a.m. And she woke up so early to make me Japanese rice balls, onigiri, and my favorite one is tarako. So if you know that, it's so good. You have to try it if you haven't. And cut up some cucumbers because I love cucumbers with my favorite onion dressing. It was just so sweet. She had such a long day the day before that, but she took the time to still be the nurturing mom she was. And I almost felt like a kid again, but in the best way. That moment also made me realize how grateful I am for the parents that I have, the mom that I have. And yeah, like I am at a loss for words for the amount of feelings that you have when you're splitting home and you're not in the same place as your family when you're living somewhere. If you are splitting home with two places and you've moved out of your current location or city or state to go somewhere else, I feel for you. It takes a lot of courage to be able to do that and to do something for yourself that you know is right, but also you're not as close to your support system. So sending a lot of love to everyone that feels homesick. I am in the process of moving apartments right now. This year has been already so hectic and crazy. It's the middle of January right now, and for the first 2 weeks after I got back, I was apartment hunting. I saw, I think, 15 apartments, and it was the most discouraging and exciting and stressful period that I could have had in the first 2 weeks. I say that because New York apartment hunting is just insane. Things go so quickly, and in January this year, the inventory was so low. So it was looking like we weren't going to find a good apartment for me and my boyfriend. And I was getting really anxious that we weren't going to find something, but we did find something so good. And if you know me, I am such a big energy person. So I need not only this physical space to feel good, but I need the energy of the space to feel good. I think when I can envision having good energy in a space, I know that it's going to be a great future ahead. Even when it came to getting this current apartment, I just knew that this was our apartment as soon as I stepped in, even after seeing so many apartments. This was one of the last ones that I saw in the apartment search last year, and seeing this one just solidified that I had to live here. And it was a great year. Anyways, with this current move, I saw again 15 apartments, and I saw this one in the middle, like it was probably like the 8th or 9th apartment, and I just knew that this was the one. But I had psyched myself out, and I logically convinced myself that there was another one that was gonna be ours because of different, amenities and reasons. All that to say, I am so glad that one didn't work out, and this is the one that ultimately worked out. I don't want to share the location because for safety purposes, but I am so happy with where we're going to be living in Manhattan. I just can't wait for this new chapter. It's going to be an exciting time. So I can't wait to share my apartment moving process with you. It will probably be a bonus episode. I don't think I'm going to release it on Spotify or the audio podcast, but if you watch this on YouTube, I will share New York City apartment hunting process, and that'll be a bonus podcast episode, but video only on YouTube. The last topic I want to talk about is impermanence. And, I've always had such a strained relationship with the idea of impermanence. And up until even last year, knowing that nothing lasts forever, that was such a heavy topic in my head. For example, death was something that I was never really scared of, but after I had my spiritual awakening, there was a period of time during this awakening period where I didn't know how to deal with that concept anymore. And it became really scary. And I would think about it every single day, and I would be so scared of death and the end of a life. Prior to that, I had such a hard relationship with impermanence when it came to our parents, us aging, moments not being the same anymore, and relationships that would end, restart. I just knew that things were never, or nothing was permanent. That concept gave me a lot of fear, sadness, and I wasn't able to see it in a positive way. But I will say this year, my relationship with impermanence has really shifted. This is a concept that I really was thinking a lot as I was reflecting on my trip to Los Angeles and even this New Year's Eve event, just the transitionary period that I'm going through in my life right now. Impermanence comes in all different forms at all stages of our lives, and it comes up in almost everything, right? It could be things, it could be moments, it could be people, it could be a thought, it could be our very own lives. And as I've healed my relationship with impermanence, I'm starting to really understand that impermanence can be such a beautiful and liberating thing as you release the control that you have around wanting things to be a certain way. I think it ultimately has to do with our relationship with control and wanting things to go a certain way, right? Like even relationships, let's say it's going terribly and you're in a toxic relationship, but you're holding on to it and you're scared to let go. But then the best thing for you is for you to not be in that relationship anymore. So it's liberating for you to let go and to know that things can come to an end and there's beauty in that. Or it could even be your relationship with your family members and your extended family members and seeing how your relationship was when you were younger. And as you get older, everyone's getting older. Maybe people are passing and your relationship with your family is naturally starting to evolve and change. Of course, that comes with a lot of sadness, but you can also see that there's beauty in being present with them and to enjoy every second with them and to not take things for granted because we don't have this moment forever. Every single moment is passing, time is passing, and as time passes, every single present moment is shifting. As we start to let go, we can start to see the beauty that impermanence has. Maybe it's more gratitude that you're able to have for the relationships in your life. Maybe it's the gratitude that you could have for the moments that you have in your life. Maybe it's the gratitude that you can have for this very life that you're living, right? You have to seize the moment because things are not permanent. As you start to release all of those things, you also start to become more liberated. And that's definitely something that's happened with me. As I started to release, there was a shift in my ego. There is ego attached to our human experience, and there is a sense of wanting to leave a legacy or maybe leaving a mark and whatnot. That is definitely something that I really, really wanted. But I'm understanding that this is a blip in the overall timeline, and at the end of the day, no one is going to remember who you are because as time keeps going on, there's going to be other things, people, events that people are remembering because it's closer to their present moment. Also, all people are focused mainly on themselves. They are the main character of their own lives. So your life and your legacy, although you might find it to be very important, other people are going to have a different relationship with the legacy that you leave behind. I say this because at the end of the day, at the end of all of this, the most important thing is for us to be good people and to leave the best energetic impact our souls can leave here. Because when we're coming from a place of ego and wanting to accomplish all these things and have all these things for ourselves and to have all these accolades, you gotta ask yourself, am I doing this because I truly care about the people around me, this earth, or am I doing this because I want it for myself and because I want to leave a mark? There could be a lot of great things that you want to leave behind, but I think the intention behind it is so, so important. So when you detach your ego from your own self, you start to understand that there is so much beauty in impermanence because your impact of why you want to do things also starts to change. And most important question that I've had to ask myself is, who do I want to be? Who do I want to be and what do I want to leave behind on this earth? Is it helping humanity become a more loving place Is it taking care of the earth to make sure that there are enough resources for generations after me? Maybe I can't make all the impact, but am I doing everything in my power to make sure that it is how I left it off, or even better than what it was before I got here? I think it's completely natural for us to also feel sadness for moments passing and to know that our lives might come to an end one day. But just know that then it's your invitation to live every single day to the fullest, to not take any relationships for granted. And maybe it's impermanent in our physical form, but just know that our lives, it transcends our physical form. So even after our last day here, we are energetically still, spiritually still here. And the impact we make here, all the learnings we make here is so important. So allow yourself to continue to grow into the best version that you can be and to really honor who you are at the core. So we have a decision to make every single day. Let's seize the moment, enjoy the relationships that we have with each other, and truly put out the best energy that we can, and to work on ourselves to be the best versions, because we owe that to ourselves, because we know that tomorrow is not promised, and it's up to us to make the most of our life, our relationships, and our lessons that we're going to carry forward to make this a better place. So I've talked enough for today's episode. I'm excited to share the next few episodes coming out soon. I hope you can subscribe to Aligning with Purpose if you haven't done so already. You can find it on Spotify, any of your favorite streaming platforms, or YouTube if you like a video version. And I'm also on social media. It's going to be TikTok and Instagram at aligningwithpurpose.pod or at Julioshi, JULIYOSHI. I will be updating those frequently, and my goal for this year is to bring more of that into my personal account. So we will be sharing more on those platforms. And if you like today's podcast episode, and if you feel compelled to do so, please like, share, follow, all the things. And I am so grateful for your support so far. That is going to be the end of our podcast episode, and have a wonderful day ahead.